All right, so last piece is the finishing touches. Now, you're probably thinking our tree doesn't really look much like a tree. Well, I guess it kind of does, but it looks a little choppy, a little ugly. We're going to modify it slightly to give it a little bit more environmental change. So we're going to make it so that our branches aren't always, going off so symmetrically. We're going to make it also so that we don't have this choppy bulging effect right around these areas here. Kind of sloppy. We're going to make it so that our tree does not go down by half. Leonardo wasn't quite right on that, so we're going to modify it a bit. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we're going to give the branches a random or a range of random angles they could branch out at. So we're going to go in here, we're going to go to tree draw where we actually add the new branches. And currently we just do this. We say direction minus 15, direction plus 15. We want to change the variance, okay, to go maybe somewhere. We'll test it out. We'll try a couple different things. So let's create a branch left, okay, and we're going to create a random number for that. So we want it to subtract not 15 every time, but maybe, oh, of course we got to declare this, sorry, telling me I'm wrong. Okay, so we got to declare this to be an integer, and then we've got to make it somewhere between, I don't know, 15's a little, it's not too much, it's not bad. It goes off 15 degrees from the current direction it's going in. So you can see it goes, this one goes to the left, 15 degrees. Let's maybe make it branch between, let's try 10 and 20 degrees. So we're going to do a greenfoot.getRandomNumber call. All right, greenfoot.getRandomNumber, we want one between 10 and 20. So that's a range of 10 different numbers starting at 10. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say, instead of minus 15, we're going to say branch left. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for branching to the right, except we're going to call it int branch right. And we're going to make it also somewhere between 10 and 20, see how that works. Okay, and so we're going to change this up to add, oops, branch right. Okay, so let's see what happens when we've created a little bit of variance, about a 10-degree variance between these. I don't know if I notice any difference. Let's try that again. Guess I notice a little bit. Like this time it's kind of going off to the side over here, but not great. Let's try this again. So we're going to, let's try giving it a little bit more of a range, still off by plus 10. So we'll do a range of 15 just to give it a little bit more difference. So I changed it so that we've got a range of 15 numbers starting at 10 here, and same thing, a range of 15 numbers starting at 10, so it'd be between 10 and 25. All right, a little bit more variance. Something I want to change that I think we'll be able to see the variance a little bit more with is if we change the width and how we're deciding on what the next width is going to be. In the past, I've messed around with things. I'm going to try coming up with a new branch width. Now, of course, I'm going to have to come up with this outside of here so that we have it to be able to check and make sure that the width's okay. I'm going to say int new width. We're going to set it to be, let's try math.sqrt. That's going to be the square root, okay, of the current width. So we're going to say width, I think that's a little bit not enough, but we're gonna just mess around with it. New width. Let's say maybe I've used square root before. Let's just see new width. We're gonna mess around with this to see what happens. New width. I don't think good things gonna happen. I think this is gonna be too skinny. Okay, we'll try that. Oh, what doesn't it like? Oh, lossy version of double to int. Okay, we're gonna change this into an integer afterwards. Okay, I don't think this is gonna work so well. Let's try it out. Yeah, way too small. Oop, don't like it. Yeah, that's a very bad tree. Okay, so I think we've tried square root in the past. I don't know what we've done to it. Let's try taking this width, okay, this current width, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply it by 0.7. So that means what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply width by 0.7, the current width, multiplied by a decimal value. And then afterwards, we're going to cast this to be an integer instead of a double because we're putting it into an integer value here. And we need it as an integer value so that we can actually decide on the width of the tree. We've asked that this is all in integers. So width times 0.7, that's going to make it smaller, okay, by a factor of 0.7. And then it's going to turn into an integer and then set the width for us. Let's try that. All right, let's see here. Well, that's not too bad. Seems to be growing all right. Slowing down a whole bunch because we've got lots of tree builders. But hey, this isn't a bad tree. Okay, and they'll end up here. This part will go a little further because it's got more space. Not bad. So that adds quite a bit of variance. And if we want a little bit more variance, we can mess around still with this piece here. We could make it maybe 20 degrees difference. Okay, so it's going to be between 10 and 30 degrees off from the past one. Let's try this. I know it runs a little slow. Let's see if I can run a little faster. Oh, my computer doesn't want to go very fast. I got the lots open right now. Okay. Hey, that's pretty nice too. Okay, so really this piece is going to be a bit of personal preference. Okay. The one last thing that I do want to add some variance to is the fact that all these branches are the same length. And while it looks okay, I think we could change it up and make it a little bit more natural looking. That looks pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy with that, but let's make it a little bit more natural. So we're going to pause that. I'm going to go over here and we're going to mess around with this number. Okay, so every time a tree draw object is created, I want to set a new number for this. I'm going to create it as a constant because realistically it should be the same for every tree builder. Not the same for every tree builder or tree draw object, but every time we create a new tree draw object, it should have this as a constant. Okay, so we're going to call this final length. Let's head up to the top and we're going to call it private static final int final length. And let's set it to a random number again because we're adding some variance to it. Dot get random number. Currently we're dealing with a length of 30, I think is what we had decided on originally. Let's get a number between 30 and 40. Okay, and so we'll do a variance of 10 numbers starting at 30. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this go a little quicker. I'm wondering if we draw it a little, well, no, because that's going to drop off. Let's just leave it at this. It's just making my computer really slow having all these objects added. So let's see. All right, there's a little bit more length in the branches and their variance as well. So that's kind of nice. I think it looks, again, a little bit more realistic than the last one. So that concludes the tutorial for Leonardo's tree. Obviously, there's quite a bit of messing around that you can kind of do with this. And yeah, and just kind of make it a little bit different. Now that I'm actually looking at it, I shouldn't have this as a final variable. Sorry guys, scratch this. Just make it an integer. Okay, I'm not going to explain why that's not a great idea right now, but let's just make it an integer. We're going to call it final length. I'm going to see if this makes any changes. Okay, static, that's a problem with static. It's going to make all the tree objects have the same random number, and that's not going to make any sense. So let's try this now. Okay, a little bit more variance, but see, we can see that this branch is actually a little shorter than this one. Okay, but still very tree-like. Anyways, so that's it. Oh, look at that crazy little branch you got off there. Kind of fun. So I'm sure you could find more variances. Maybe yours wasn't exactly the same, but maybe it was something similar.